friend asked me what all the numbers mean. The stats, all that fun stuff. So it explains if you press back, it'll tell you the character's name, the covenant you're a part of, the soul level. The higher the level, the higher the cost to level up. The HP. And when you level up an HP, it will give you, it's a diminishing return for the number of HP that you get. So the first level, let's see, the first level that you increase will give you an additional 22. And then after that, it'll give you however much that is, 22 as well. So basically after you reach 1,000, and I think that's 24 levels in health, it dramatically starts dropping off down to like 1 or 2 health per level, with a soft cap at 40. So that's like the first bump, and it plateaus a little bit, and then it drops down at 60. And basically, you're from 60 to 99. It's useless. 2-minute slots. You need the increments vary. Increase. It's 10 for the first attunement slot, 12 for the second attunement slot. I think 14 or 16. Hey German, I'm making another video explaining the levels and stats and all that stuff for Wine Human. Another streamer who's going to be doing deathless attempts. Yeah. So endurance, that influences our physical resistance, our magic defense, flame, lightning, and our bleed resist. Those are the blue changes. The changes that will happen from that level to the next level, of course. Increases your stamina. That's the green bar. That will increase your ability to go further or swing more or block more. And equip load, I'll explain that after I get out of this menu. So strength makes it so that you can wield weapons, but it also increases your R1, which is the bumper, L1, which is the weapon that we have in our left hand. You can have weapons in both hands. I do not recommend it. It is not very effective. In Dark Souls 2, it's a little better. But in general, in Dark Souls, don't have a weapon in your other hand unless it's like a crystal rapier, crystal sage rapier in Dark Souls 3, which increases your item find even if it's in your holster or at your belt. It also increases your physical resist. Dexterity, same thing. There's a minimum stat requirement to wear weapons or to equip weapons or to get benefits of blocking with shields. You have to have a strength enough to wield it with one hand, not two hand for the shield. And I can explain that again in a minute. Physical resistance, or sorry, resistance is kind of intuitive. It gives you the most resistance per level and increases your poison resist by a significant amount. But it's probably the most useless stat, because you can just heal through poison. The physical resistance is you get more than enough from armor. Intelligence increases your damage, and so you have to have it meet the minimum requirement for a spell. So if it's 32 to cast the spell, you need to have 32 intelligence. And things scale, and I'll explain that in a minute. Things will scale off of your intelligence. There will be one talisman, Velka's talisman, that can scale off. It's a talisman is a faith-based caster, but you cast faith spells with your intelligence scaling. There's also the improved pyromancy hand that also scales off of intelligence, whereas the regular pyromancy hand only casts off of the level of the pyromancy hand. That's why you can do soul level 1 with pyromancy, because with the exception of a few bosses, fire does a significant amount of damage, and even with a level 1 pyromancy hand, you can cast all the spells as long as you buy the spell. The spells are kind of expensive, and you can find a couple of them around the place, but for the most part, you want to increase the level of your pyromancy hand, and from 0 to 15 is like 150,000 souls total. It is incrementally a lot more. Sorry, I don't want to sneeze. And once you get to plus 15, you can augment it to a base 0 augmented weapon, and you can increase that up to a 5 augmented weapon. Improved pyromancy hand. I forget what the name of it is. I don't often use pyromancies. So that's intelligence and faith. Again, there's faith-based weapons or miracles. There's useful utility things like healing yourself. So if you run out of Estus, you can heal yourself out of combat. You can heal allies. You can do what is called emit force, and you cast a ball of force and hit something, staggers them. You can do force, which is you just do like a Super Saiyan, bah, and everybody around you gets knocked down. But there's also, but it doesn't do damage. But there's also a spell called Wrath of the Gods that does do damage, and a lot of damage. And the area of effect for the knockback also is much bigger, and so you can hit people better. And you can actually kill bosses by just going bah right next to them. It's kind of silly. But it also, like your dexterity, like your vitality, like your does it attunement? Yeah. Basically every level can increase your resistances. So the higher the level, the better. Okay, so that's all of that. Humanity. I want to explain this. Symbolizes human nature and determines item discovery and resistances to curse. But it also increases other resistances, not just curse. So right now we have, let's see, 5, 108, 88, and 30. We're going to pop 1. It increases curse, resist, and item discovery. Now curse resist is nice. I think, if I remember correctly, there's a background increase of resistance. I don't remember why that is, but basically if you have 99 humanity on, you take less damage, less fall damage, and all this stuff. I don't remember why. Don't quote me on that either. Go to Fextra Life. While they have misinformation quite often, the Wikidot is also a useful tool, but the Fextra Life goes into it breaks it down a little bit more. Like, it actually gives you the algorithms for scaling of weapons, which is what I'm going to talk about next. So as you can see, there's the attack on the left hand side. You see the attack type, regular, thrust. So regular is a slash, and the R2 is a thrust. So that explains that. The weapon type is a straight sword, obviously. It'll break it down in categories. So let's say I want to check out the mace. The mace. It's a hammer, technically, and it does strike damage. Strike damage does a lot of damage for poise. It also does a lot of damage for posture damage. So posture damage is important for bosses, because if you build up the posture bar, kind of like in Sekiro, if you build up the posture bar, when it gets 100% of that posture bar, it staggers them. For example, the Iron Golem. If you hit his ankles enough, his ankles are weaker, you can hit his thighs, you can hit his shins, his toes, but his ankles are the weakest. It's a remnant of Demon's Souls Tower Knight boss. You just hack at its ankles and it will stagger. Hack at his ankles a little bit more and it'll fall over on its butt. You can make it fall over on its butt, off a ledge, and it'll fall to its death. It's a quick kill. That said, going back to what's in front of us, the attack on the left-hand side, it says physical 83. That's the base stat. If you level up the weapon, it will increase that number, the 83. It'll increase it up. I'm gonna say it'll increase it level 1 will increase it to 92, 91. Arbitrary number. I don't actually know what the charts are. Fextra Life and Wikidot for Dark Souls Remastered actually have a breakdown of all of the weapons. It has a breakdown of all the weapons, all of the level plus 0, plus 10, or plus 0, plus 5, plus 10, and plus 15 if that weapon has that. If it's a special weapon, it's plus 5. If it's a regular weapon, it's a plus 15. You can have a plus 15. You can have a plus 5 crystal weapon, and a plus 5 crystal weapon does X amount more, but it changes your if you have a lightning weapon, it changes how that works. It changes your scaling. Sometimes it removes scaling entirely. Some weapons don't have scaling at all. Some weapons do have scaling. Some weapons have good scaling, which is S, A, B, C, D, E, and no scaling. So E being like 3% of that stat. So if it says, if you look at the arm, it says C. So that's strength, right? So if your strength scaling is E and you have 10, if you have 100 levels in strength, which you can't have, then you will get 3 extra damage. That's the strike, right? Underneath the strike, you see the plus 9. So if I have 1 more level in strength, that will go from a plus 9 to a plus 12 in the instance of a E scaling. And again, those numbers aren't exactly correct. It's just for example. So you want to look at the scaling of your weapon. If it says C in strength and D in dexterity, let's see, E and D sucks. it just flat out sucks. Don't bother if it's E. But it does scale. It's just really, really, really bad scaling. And again, 99 is the maximum level. So at most you're getting 2. It's rounding down. So at most you're getting 2 levels in strength, even if you get to 99 in strength and dexterity. So it's a 4 total, right? 2 for strength, 2 for dex. If you get 99 in both, that is a lot of levels, and that's like well over a couple million souls. So good luck getting that without cheating, and still using that weapon. If you hate yourself, use this weapon. Now the scaling increases up to a D and a D, I think, if you get it up to a plus 15 straight sword hilt. Again, don't recommend using it. People like to do challenge runs. People hate themselves. People use that weapon. I equip it for a reason I'll explain in a minute. Magic. So if there's a weapon that has, say, magic or enchantment infusion, right, similar to Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 2, you can have infusions, right? And so this weapon now has 80. I'm just gonna say that it has 80 physical and 12 bonus damage. Hey, Carrot. You are late to class. How dare you? And then we're gonna say that it's just mirrored. So magic is 80 and plus 12. So now you have a total, what you think is a total of 160 plus 24. So that's 184. That's what the numbers add up to, right? But that's not correct. It is not applied that way. It is applied physical damage to physical resistance. Magic damage to magic resistance. So boss could be really weak to magic, but really strong against physical resistance. So you are splitting your damage in half. Whereas if you dropped all of it into physical damage by keeping it at plus 5, 10, or 15 weapon, it will apply all of that to the physical resistances. And you can then put on gold pine resin to do lightning damage. You can then put on the charcoal resin, which is fire damage. You can do poison, and I think that's it. You can do mods to get other ones, but you have 3: fire, lightning, and poison. Now you can actually do toxic damage by throwing poop, dung pies, at people, but it also poisons you. you also have a pyromancy called Toxic Surge, I think, and you can do a little bit of that. Is it distorted as well? Oh no. Don't tell me it's using the wrong mic again. Is anybody else having audio issues? I don't want to have to explain everything again. Shit. You're not experiencing it. Magnus, try changing the quality settings. I've heard that helps. It's a Twitch issue right now. Okay, so let's go down the line. Okay, well, if it's not, let me know. It is also picking up a lot of feedback from the speakers, I think. There's something wrong with my mic settings and I need to change it. My apologies. I'll get around to it. So right now we're on the critical damage. So some weapons have higher critical damage. 110 and 130 are common. I think 150 is the highest critical damage, and I think that's from the Hunter's Knife. So a critical attack is... good. A critical attack is when you parry and riposte. So if you parry and then R1, you will suck you... I can actually show you. You'll suck right to their stomach and stab them. And it looks kind of cool. Let's see if I can parry first try. I might mess up, because this guy can leap at us. Stab him in the stomach, it does 165 damage. Whereas if I were to swipe at him, 40 damage. 165 or 40. Which one would you rather have? Now, if you two-hand him, you parry, then swap over, move forward a little bit, and then R1, and you will do a little bit more damage. So I'll explain why in a minute, because I'm continuing down the line. So you have the aux effects or auxiliary effects. So you have the red circle, that's bleed. Once you hit it enough times, its bleed bar fills up, just like you. Its bleed bar fills up, and once it gets full, it instantly applies damage. I don't remember if it's percent damage, but it's significant regardless. Bleed is very strong in Dark Souls 1. Some bosses are resistant, or like Havel, who's in full armor. It doesn't make sense for him to bleed a lot because you're slashing, right? Hitting him with a reinforced club, which is a club with nails on it. You're hitting him away. He has a very high bleed bar, high bleed resistance, so it'll take a lot longer, that many more hits, to make him bleed. The reason why this weapon is useless is because it does 300 bleed bar damage, if you want to call it that. There are other ones that are up to, I think, 350, I want to say. There's less than 300 and more than 300. How about that? But 300 is pretty standard for the base weapons, like the Bandit's Knife, this Morning Star, and the Reinforced Club that you can get at the Undead Merchant in the Upper Undead Burg, which is the area just in front of us, up the way. So 300 seems nice, but its moveset is particularly slow. Now, if you miss, the recovery animation of an attack is actually longer. So it's a bit of a misconception, I guess, in demonstrating it not against something. But for some reason, not only is this weapon... It says C. It says C for the scaling, right? And it says +9, right? For whatever reason, that's not accurate. It does less damage than you think. It applies less bleed than you think. It is a really bad weapon. For whatever reason, From Software doesn't like Morning Stars. All 3 of the games, Morning Stars are useless. Don't ask me why. Or rather, most weapons are better than the Morning Star. So yes, you can pick it up in a chest in Firelink Shrine. Ooh. Over there. You can drop down behind the church, and there is a chest with it, as well as a talisman that you can pick up in the same chest. but it's a useless weapon, so I wouldn't use it. So next to that is bleed. Sorry, poison. It'll tell you how much poison it is. Once again, it has a bar. It ticks up. Once it gets full, it starts applying poison damage. Now, poison in this game is not that strong at all. You can poison some bosses, but some of them, a lot of them, are just immune to poison. Or it takes so long to build up that bar that by the time you actually build up the bar and it starts applying poison and you're just hacking and slashing and hacking and slashing, by the time it actually gets partly way through its very, very long application of the poison, you've already killed the boss. You've already killed the enemy. It's kind of a useless stat in Dark Souls 1. In Dark Souls 2, it is very strong. So I highly recommend in Dark Souls 2 using poison. Next to that is divine damage, and then next to that is occult damage. Both of those scale off of faith. Now, the weapon will tell you whether or not it scales off of occult or divine. It sucks because it's made of metal. What a joke. Brought to you by the Reinforced Club Gang. Yeah. Dweeb11 makes a very good point. It has been proven time and time again that the Reinforced Club is the strongest early game weapon with the lowest stats. That is it. That you can use in the whole game. For whatever reason, it's a strike weapon. Its leap strike can cover a great distance. So you have to two-hand, and then its R2 is a leap strike. All clubs do that, by the way, including great clubs. For whatever reason, it applies its bleed faster than the Morningstar, even though it says 300, just like this. Its physical scaling, its scaling is better. So a plus 15 will have A in dexterity scaling, which is nice. Sorry, strength scaling. And also, strength scales better than dexterity weapons in this game, in all Dark Souls games. For some reason, strength scales better. The math shows it. It scales better than dex. So a scaling dex weapon, the extra attack power, the 22 in this case, will be less than if it's a scaling on a strength-based weapon. Because if you two-hand, it increases your R1. So see how it's 105 currently for R1? That's the attack rating, or AR, is 105 right now. Because, as we noticed, 22, 105. Physical attack, 83 plus 22 is 105. But if we one-hand, it's 92. It increases your strike by 1.5. The bonus by 1.5. Or is it double? I don't know. I forget. The math is weird if you two-hand. But basically, in order to wield a weapon that is stronger than what you can have, you have to have 75% of that level. So, rounding down, I thought for the longest time that you need to have, in order to wield a 32 strength weapon, you need to have 24 strength. Apparently, 22. Don't ask me why. It might be 67.666, so 2/3. So I guess it makes sense that it multiplies your attack by 1/3. Either way, two-hand does more damage. That's all you need to remember. But it also has a slower moveset, a different moveset, and so if your weapon's two-hand is not ideal, keep that in mind. For the most part, stick to what you know. Stick to what you like. Some weapons are better, sure, but if you don't use that weapon often, if you don't like that weapon's moveset, if it's not comfortable for you, don't use it. I'll make another video later for parrying. So that explains all of the stats. Your equip load. Equip load. There we go. So right now, my equip load is greater than half. Yeah. That's a fat roll. This is the slowest roll that you can have. The animation's longer, but the iframes are still the same, so they can hit you at the beginning and they can hit you at the end. It punishes you for having too much weight. But, on the other side, you take less damage because your physical resistance is higher. And your poise is higher. Your resistance is higher. Poise on the right hand side, it says 5. I don't know what is giving me poise. My helmet gives me poise. Okay. So poise is, if I hit you, you stagger. If you have something with poise, you stagger less. If you have a whole lot of poise, 100 plus, they hit you and you're like, okay, what you gonna do about it? So like the 4 kings, they slash you, it staggers you. But if you have over 100 poise, they slash you, it goes right through you. You're just like, all right, dealt a little bit of damage. Okay. Now, in order to not fat roll, you need to have the Ring of Favor and Protection. It increases your equip load. And you need to have the Havel Ring. It increases your equip load. Now, you'll still fat roll, but if you have full Havels plus 5, which means... no, I don't think Havels increases... I don't think you can level up Havels. I think you can level up Stone Armor. Some armor you can level up, and that increases its resistances. Some you can't. So just look at it. If you can increase it when you go to a blacksmith, or when you buy the weaponsmith box and go to a bonfire and click on reinforced weapon or reinforced armor, armor smith box, weaponsmith box. Anyway, just look at it. If you can increase it, it'll tell you if you can. If it's not on the list, you can't increase it. Like the gold hemmed ropes, you can increase them, but it has really high stats and really low weight relative to the amount of resistances that you get from it. So a lot of people like to use the gold hem robe for that. Why do I keep on equipping it? So another thing to keep in mind is durability. For the most part, durability, you don't have to repair things. If it says weapon at risk in bright red letters, get it repaired by a blacksmith. Or you can get your own repair box and go to a bonfire. Repair armor. Repair your armor. It costs some souls. Some armor, some weapons cost more to recover durability. For example, the Drake sword, you can do an R2 smash, and that's like your special effect attack. And that R2 smash will be kind of... one second. Toggle display. There we go. Your R2 smash will do like this line of cool physical force damage, and people will get blown to the side. It'll do a lot of damage. Kills hollows, pretty nice. But does 20 damage to its durability. It has 999. That or 600. Either way, it has a lot of durability relative to other weapons, but it still chunks through. If you do it 100 times in a row, it's going to break. And you have to go to a blacksmith to repair a broken weapon. Now, if it's just needs repair, you can do it yourself. I think that's the case. That might be Dark Souls 2 and 3. Don't quote me on that. I hardly ever break my weapon. If you miss and you hit a wall, or you miss an attack and hit something else other than an enemy, it will do a little bit more durability damage. And Dark Souls 1. I don't know if that happens in Dark Souls 2 and 3. If you tink on a wall. But if you level up the weapon, it will override all that. It'll go back to its maximum durability. So you can navigate the crystal weapons and crystal shield and all that stuff. You can't repair crystal weapons. Dark Souls running simulator, basically. Uh, sadly. So a crystal sword does a lot of damage. It doesn't scale, I don't think. But its base attack is really high. And you can slash and hack and slash, and it does some nice damage relative to the basic sword, longsword. So you can't repair it. Even with spells, even with the repair powder, you can't repair it. At a blacksmith, nothing. But if it's down to 1 durability just before it breaks and shatters into dust, right before it breaks, you can level it up. And if you level it up, it goes up to 100% durability. Woo! So people like to use the crystal halberd, red hilt halberd, exactly like the red hilt halberd in my other videos. And you hacking and slashing, level it up to +3 to do that much more damage. Apply resins, or you can apply spells to increase it. Magic weapon, greater magic weapon. You can do Dark Moon Blade and the Sunlight Blade. All of those are the first two. The magic you can buy and loot those, and the Moonlight Blade and the Sunlight Blade, Dark Moonlight Blade and the Sunlight Blade are the highest level of loyalty rewards. So Gwendolyn has a covenant. You have to have the Dark Sands Ring, which you can find in the catacombs. Gwendolyn is below the bottommost part in the rotating elevator, the bottommost level. If you have the ring, you can just walk through the illusory wall of Gwyn holding up his sword. There's a bonfire there. If you don't have the ring, or if it's still sunny out, you can't go through the illusion. But if you kill Guinevere, the illusion, sunlight goes away, you can go down. If you kill Guinevere, you can't kneel at the in front of the door on the carpet and be a part of the covenant. But if you get the Dark Sands Ring, you go over there, you kneel down and say, yes, I want to join the covenant. You give him some covenant items, 30, and you get the Dark Moonlight Blade, which is scaling off of faith. And I think also intelligence. Don't quote me on that. But it's a miracle, so you still have to have faith to cast it. And a talisman. Now, it says in the toggle display, so for me, I'm using an Xbox controller, so it's going to be X. It says longsword, that is its name of the weapon. The weapon type is a straight sword, that is the category it's in, and the wiki and the Fextra Life. I have my problems with Fextra Life, but it's very useful for just basic information. It's not always accurate, and that's okay. So the straight sword is the category, and its attack type is regular and thrust. So a lot of people are weak to strike, as it does more poise damage. So once that poise bar breaks their stamina bar, so for you, you would see it as your stamina bar going down, and once it reaches 0, you stagger, and they can do critical damage to you. But you do it to them. Just envision it like you just beat the shit out of them. They're like, ugh, I'm so tired. And then you do critical damage to them. Or knock a boss off a ledge, as I've already described. So it gives you a brief description. You can read all of the weapons. There's some lore in the items. Hey Frank, how's it going? I'm doing alright. Just doing a quick tutorial video for one human on how to understand everything. Hey Comrade Dad, how's it going? So it says an accessible sword which inflicts consistent regular damage with high slashing damage, making it applicable to a variety of situations. Only slightly better than one's bare hand. At the beginning of the game, this will do 2 damage, and your hand will do 2 damage. If you two-hand the straight sword hilt, it will do 3 damage. Sometimes. And not recommended for extensive use, but certain to find a replacement quickly. It's the first. You start the game out with the broken straight sword hilt. You've already gone. If you've gotten to Firelink Shrine, you know how to get a weapon. Anyway, uniquely, this hammer inflicts thrust damage and causes bleeding. Equip Talisman to cast miracles. Attune miracles from a scroll at a bonfire. You buy them. You can find them on the ground. One of them you have to kill something for. Only one, I think. Technically, you have to kill one, but that's only because it's like covering it. But anyway, getting a lot of popping from my mic. Have you tried changing your quality settings on your end? A lot of people saying that there's audio quality issues, but when they change their quality settings on Twitch, it will, yeah, it's set to source. Yeah, so just change it and change it back, and it might change. It might be fixed. I don't know. Something really weird happened. See, I can't use my old filters because, for some reason, when OBS updated, the widget that I used to do the audio settings doesn't work anymore. Like, it just refuses to acknowledge that this mic exists. It only uses the mic and the camera. Anyway, going back to the material, I don't know why they said limited no dot, which means number, but anyway. Let's see, is there anything else that I could talk about? Oh yeah, equipment load, there we go. So I think in Dark Souls 2, sorry, in Dark Souls 1, I think it's 22.5%, and sorry, 25% and 75%, or 30% and 70%. Extra Life or Wikidot will tell you the percentages of your equipment load that will make it so you fast roll, medium roll, or fat roll. This is a fat roll. This is a medium roll. Nope, I have to take off more. This is a fast roll. Now there's a ring that you can get that make you do cartwheels. Fast roll is love. That's why I'm always naked in most of my videos. I'm just naked. That way I can have a super heavy weapon like the Black Knight Halberd and not have to put that many levels into endurance, which increases my equip load. I love being naked too. So the reason why you want to fast roll is because, one, the recovery animation is faster, and two, because you travel a further distance when you are a lighter. Turns out that if you have less shit on you, you can do more things because you're less exhausted. Also, the stamina cost for rolling is higher. Now, there is another thing. Once you are 100%, I think. Yeah, once you're 100% and above, you just stomp your foot, and that's your roll. But you don't get any iframes, so you just get the shit beaten out of you while you're stuck in this animation of. There is, I think, 2 spells that prevent you from rolling. One is from the Stone Giants. They stick their hands up and they cast a spell, and an area effect around them makes it so you can't heal and you can't roll. You do the little stompy stomps and you walk really, really slow. And there is the from the I forget what they're called. There are 2 of them in New Londo. They're big, they're black, they're ugly. They spit out boomy booms. They have a spear in their mouth. And they also vomit on you. That vomit, if it touches you, does damage like it's toxic. It's not toxic damage. So you can't like use the blooming moss or the spell to get rid of it. So it's just on you and you can't roll and you're moving really slowly. Toxic. But you can't get rid of it. You just have to heal through it. So don't get hit by it. It's really easy to just walk away from or dodge. think that explains everything. Item find. I don't remember how it scales with things, but it increases your ability. It increases your drop rate. So right now, if I have 150 item discovery, say if I try to go for the Black Knight Halberd, it'll be an arbitrary 17.5% chance to drop that weapon. Now, if I increase it to 200 item discovery by having, actually, I don't know if, give me a second. So, I think if you get it, 10 humanity is the most you get benefit out of item discovery for item discovery, and I think it's like 190 something, 192 maybe, 190 something. I don't think it's quite 200. Either way, you have a now 23% chance of it dropping. So it's just a little bit more, but that little bit more makes it that much more enjoyable. If you're doing all achievements, you need to have all special weapons, one of which is the Channeler's weapon. It has 5% drop rate, up to 7% drop rate. That sucks so bad. There's a ring that it can improve your item discovery. It's called the gold serpent ring. And the Mimic's Head also increases your chance to discover items. You can also use the copper, silver, and gold coins to increase your item discovery by a flat amount. So I think copper's 20, 10, 20. Silver's a little bit more, and 50 is gold. That's all I remember. And what's nice about the Mimic Head is it not only increases your item find, but it also increases the amount of souls that you can get. I don't remember the value, but it'll tell you. As there's also in the Catacombs after Pinwheel, and just after the last bonfire, you can go up to an area where there's a bunch of the pillar skeletons that have their arms that flail around. It can also smash you. Yes, the Mimic Head also has a ton stick now, but it does damage over time, so be mindful of that. Let's see. It's also very heavy, by the way. The silver serpent ring is in the Catacombs just before Nido's area, just before it opens up into that really bright area. There is the silver serpent ring, and that also increases your item find. Sorry, your souls acquired. So if you are running low on souls, just pop it on. Pop on the Mimic Head right before you, just after you kill the boss, right before you get the souls. There's a little bit of a delay in that. And also, coincidentally, if you use the dark sign, the dark sign says, oops. Yikes. Okay, so the dark sign says, death triggers the dark sign, which returns its bearer to the last bonfire rested at, but at the cost of all humanity and souls. So right now I lose my 4 souls, or 4 humanity, and my 24 souls, right? What's cool is, in that lag phase between the sign of prey destroyed if you're in Bloodborne, or demon destroyed, or whatever the announcement says that you beat the boss, victory, you quit out as soon as that sign hits, and if you do it at the right time, when you come back, you lost all your previous souls, but you get all the souls from the boss still when you come back in. It's kind of cool. Speedrunners like to use it. In Dark Souls 3, not in Dark Souls 1. But anyway, I explained some movesets. I'm not going to show you videos for all movesets in the game because there's too many. Find a weapon that's good for you. Weapon scaling increases as you upgrade the weapon. So not only does it improve the base damage, but it also increases the scaling at certain thresholds. And there's a table on the Wikidot, and there's a table on Effects for Life. So if you want to actually look for weapons that have an S scaling, there aren't that many, and just look through the weapons. It explains everything. It also explains the base damage and the elemental damage or the alternative damage for every level or every. So say it's a crystal halberd, right? It'll say plus 0 crystal halberd, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll say the scaling, which is I think 0, but it will say the damage increase. It'll also I think explain the resistances, because some weapons and shields, but some weapons actually increase the resistance as you upgrade um, the weapon. Like the gargoyle's tail axe increases poison resistance, I want to say, and bleed resistance, I want to say, if you upgrade the weapon. Shields do the same thing. The blood shield is my favorite. It has the highest resistances, I think, for most things. Some wacky WW stuff. Oh, wrong warp. Yeah. Yeah, wrong warp is a thing that I'm not going to cover in this video. But rings are cool. There's only 2 of them. Make sure that your equip load allows you to fast roll. It makes the game a lot easier. So yes, you're losing some armor, but you're also making yourself more mobile. So which would you rather do? Take more hits, take a little bit less damage, or dodge more hits and don't get hit? Which would you rather do? I have a preference, obviously. But with some bosses, it actually oversimplifies the boss fight to have a lot of poise, a lot of armor, upgrade the armor, upgrade the shields, and level up your resistance, and you'll just walk on through boss fights. Attacks that normally stagger you or one-shot you won't of either. So that's cool. The whole playthrough, you should end up around 120 levels. You could go more. A lot of my playthroughs for Deathless, I only got up to 69. Nice. For my levels. Because you don't need much more than that. Just enough to wield the weapon, have enough comfy endurance, have enough comfy vitality. And away you go. The rest is just have a good weapon. Hit them, don't get hit. So that is the tutorial video for that. I don't think there's anything other to explain in this video. So I'm going to end this recording. Have fun.